home or a hotel, a traditional farm or a server farm. Introducing Hacienda Castilla. St. Matthew's Assurance presents a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Over 800 square miles of pristine, uninhabited coastal property in central Chile, ready for industrial, business, and residential development. Hacienda Castilla features almost unlimited open spaces and some of the most beautiful beaches in South America. With parcels ranging from 20 acres to over 200 acres, Hacienda Castilla will be adjacent to Copia Port A, the deepest natural port in all of South America. Experience future-forward development limited only by your imagination. What will you create at Hacienda Castilla? Become part of something completely new. For more, visit haciendacastilla.net today.
Good morning, Todd. Happy Monday. I can't hear you.
Hey, everybody. Sorry about that. Well, Todd gets that situated there. This is a live episode with Frank Panico, and he is going to talk to us about some films he's been doing that have been making the way to get away from Hollywood and all of the corrupt actors who are basically profiting off all of the satanic elite activities that I'm sure our viewers are all aware of, including yourself, Lisa. Right?
Yes, Melissa. Thank you for pitching in there. Yes, his bio is just fantastic, and all that he's done. And as we were discussing a little bit, before we started, just on this mission of creating positive content, right? And that we are all living this life where there's lessons to be learned, but really making the best of that, and of having faith.
Yes, and he's a godly man and well aware that we need this kind of film industry right now for positivity and to reassure people, that just because it's a movie doesn't mean that it's ran by evil people. There can be good people making movies and breaking away from Hollywood, and that's what we want. And so the links are going to be down available in the description for you to check out his website and support him if you can. If God moves you to do that, please do that. I am going to do my best to get Todd's audio working. Okay. We still can't quite hear you, Todd. Is your headset connected to the settings? It was working, guys. I promise. We had it all working and set to go until I don't know what happened. But
would you like to bring Frank on and he and I can talk a little bit?
Well, he's got a monologue thing, but why don't we go ahead and play his trailer so people have an idea of what his films are.
Fantastic. Right? Thank you, Melissa.
Okay, let me just grab that real quick. Get that over there. Sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody, but it wouldn't be live without some of them, right?
Right. And as you're doing that, I'm just going to talk a little bit more. He's been involved with Christian charities, and he helps out and makes, and it's really what's really neat. And I want to ask him afterwards. Are we ready to run?
Yes, let's go ahead and play this while Todd tries to get his audio working. Todd, you can try to back
thank
out
you, Melissa.
Yeah.
You know what your problem is?
I'm angry that I have to be here to testify about the weaponization of the FBI and DOJ.
Your problem is you think this is about justice, and it's not about justice. It's about mitigating damage.
There was a deep rot within the FBI.
They said that the FBI suspended me in order to financially devastate us and leave us stranded in a new city without any support.
What ultimately kind of was the final straw for me was I got poisoned twice.
The Justice Department and the FBI, they don't get promoted by not charging you. They don't get promoted by not ruining your life.
Look, everyone, we're getting more January 6th subjects. At this point, if the worst of the worst haven't been arrested, what are you doing?
With FBI agents being taken off child sex trafficking cases to SWAT people's houses.
I
I think we all know, James Tony, that you're a great storyteller because you made up the entire story about Crossfire Hurricane.
As far as the allegations of CIA hacking into Senate computers, nothing could be further from the truth. We wouldn't do that.
They were hell-bent on destroying me. It didn't take very long, maybe 4 months, before the FBI ended up raiding my home and began a couple of years worth of retaliatory harassment.
Several FBI whistleblowers that call themselves the Suspendables.
It was as if my name was toxic waste.
A lot of them are having trouble making ends meet and taking care of their families. And that's one reason, of course, why the FBI and the Department of Justice are punishing them. To set an example,
I would have to fight communist-like totalitarian tactics, particularly working for the Central Intelligence Agency, where I'm supposed to defend and protect the Constitution of the United States. Instead, I was supposed to defend and protect the bureaucracy first and foremost.
if any of you are thinking of blowing the whistles, look at these boys. They can't feed their families anymore, so think twice and you better fall in line.
Boy, is that frustrating. How do you hear me now?
There we go. All right. I'm going to back out.
Well, thank you for your patience. You guys did a great job. I very much appreciate it. You got the trailer done first. Lisa, I apologize. Happy Monday to you. Thank
Happy
you
Monday
and
to
Melissa
as
for
well.
picking up the slack. And I want people to understand something. You're an unsung hero. You're always in the background carrying the burden for all of us in terms of research and things of that nature. And I really appreciate you doing that. It's a heavy burden. And it is that information that we share, you and Virginia and a bunch of other really good people. So thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. It's an honor. And, we were just talking about it earlier. Truth is coming out,
Yes.
and truth is
Yes.
persecuted. Truth is,
This is the beautiful part. So the monologue, which I'll do really quickly, actually goes towards that. Huge changes happening right now. You cannot contain the truth. It's like water.
Yeah.
You can't. It'll eventually find its way downhill. So
the pot of stew that's ready to bust.
yeah, it is. Okay. So with that said, let me get through these items quick, and then we'll get you back for some chat with Frank.
Okay.
Beautiful. Melissa, thank you. I just love the fact that you guys pick up and just run. I want to get through these clips fairly quickly. What I'm trying to impart to people is that the change we see with Mr. Trump is nothing short of astounding. I understand people are upset about the mRNA and AI. I am likewise. But some of the other movements happening in the background are nothing short of astounding. When you find, for example, automatic payments just going out. We wonder why the federal budget increases by 3 to 5% every year, or multiples of that. And they call cuts in the budget just a reduction in the actual increase. It's just absurd. So do me a favor. Let's play this Alex Jones clip real quick because he's going to say it faster and better than me.
But this just broke. It's confirmed minutes ago in the ongoing press conference. Trump has confirmed tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China will go into effect tomorrow. This is because Canada and Mexico have supported the invasion and the fentanyl. Canada and Mexico will be stopped 25% tariff. China tomorrow for now. If Mexico and Canada don't comply to stop pouring illegal aliens in and fentanyl, it'll go to 50% soon, Trump says.
And I can confirm that tomorrow, the February 1st deadline that President Trump put into place at a statement several weeks ago, President will be implementing tomorrow a 25% tariffs on Mexico, 25% tariffs on Canada, and a 10% tariff on China for the illegal fentanyl that they have sourced and allowed to distribute into our country, which has killed tens of millions of Americans. These are promises made and promises kept by the president.
The president yesterday said that last night he was planning to discuss whether an exemption would be made on oil imports. Do you have any information on what decision he made there, or will there be exemptions all offered under this?
I don't have an update or readout for you on the exemptions, but those tariffs will be for public consumption in about 24 hours.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to see. What he's doing, what Mr. Trump is doing, is waging a defensive economic war. So you might recall how long we've harped about oaths of office, and that these people who don't have an oath of office aren't serving us, they're serving themselves. Why? Because our government is a giant criminal enterprise. but it's in business with all the other governments that are doing the same thing. Mexico, Canada. These presidents help themselves, and all of their goonies, the permanent bureaucracy, are likewise helping themselves. It's a big game to them. So when Mr. Trump hits them with these huge tariffs, it's actually hitting the pocketbooks of Mr. Trudeau in particular. Mexico and everybody else will have the same kind of an experience, and I think you'll be surprised how fast things change around. And now we see Mr. Musk et al. Finding out that money's just gone missing everywhere. To that point, even Zelensky says, hey, all this money that you guys sent me, I only got 75 billion. I mean, it must have been nearly $1 trillion that we sent there. And he said, I only got 75 billion. Play that clip for us, would you? Oh boy.
Bounty versus the family dishcloth. Drying with a fresh sheet
Never
of Bounty
mind.
leaves your hands cleaner
Forget
than
about
a
it.
Everything will be revealed.
Yeah, that's good enough. Thank you for that. The question then becomes, how are they doing it, right? We know the crimes are being committed. We know that they're helping themselves. We know $1 trillion left, and Mr. Zelensky says, look, we're losing the war, and we only got 75 billion. How is this done? And the answer is USAID. That's the U.S. Agency for International Development. I ran into these people outside the United States. I live outside the United States, and effectively it's a front for the CIA. So they're spending money out of USAID any way they want to for international development. The short answer is that is the payment mechanism for a lot of these gangsters. And I think it's worth actually just seeing about this real quick in terms of the narrative, because like Alex Jones, they say it a lot better than I do.
Disinformation has invaded online conversations on social media platforms, posing challenges to healthy information environments and threats to democracy. It bolsters authoritarians, weakens democratic voices and participation, exploits and exacerbates existing social cleavages, and silences opposition. Countering disinformation and promoting information integrity are necessary priorities for ensuring.
Yeah, so that's their spin on it, right? Making sure democracy can thrive. In reality, it's a great giant slush fund, and they're just paying off whoever it is they have to pay off to keep their scam going. That's what it's really about. And by the way, USAID, you find them in the embassies around the world. Why? Because that's where the CIA does its business, is out of embassy. Most of the time, the people that you see there are diplomats are working two jobs. They work for the embassy, and then they also work for the agency, for lack of a better word. And this is coming to a halt. So Elon et al. With Doge have now started cutting off the access to the money supply, because when they asked for it, they said, hey, we need to know what it is you guys are spending money on. The permanent bureaucracy tried to cut him off, so that they tried to find ways they couldn't show him. But you got a presidential order. I want to know what's happening. And holy smokes, Elon says that they figure they can cut $1 trillion from the budget in a month. That means $1 trillion was getting wasted and paid away for free to others who are part of the criminal enterprise. And it just bothers me so, because we've been such idiots, right? It's not like we didn't know this. Our taxes go up, our debt burden goes up. You can barely afford to fix your car, but you're working 3 jobs. How is that possible? And the short answer to the question is, you are getting robbed blind. We all are, and we are tax slaves and slaves no more. What I see coming out of Mr. Trump is absolutely fantastic. I hope that he will revisit the mRNA and AI stuff. Look, I get 6G, I get 5G. I don't want to be a robot. I don't want to be anybody's slave. So I'm not going to. I hope that you can confront this, Mr. Trump. It's important to do so. And in the meantime, we've got cool filmmakers like Frank Panico. I think I said it right, Panico, who's with us today to tell us how you do it. How and why? Because people get stuff from film. We're watching our videos, right? We're taking in our messaging through video, less and less reading. Frank is a filmmaker originally from New York, moved to Hollywood, and has made his own way. So, Frank, with that said, welcome to Truth Be Told. It's a joy to have you here.
Thank you, Todd. It's nice to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about your background and what you've done with your career and where it sits now.
Sure. It all started when I was 2 years old. I'm just kidding.
Wow. Could be. Good.
Just kidding.
Filmmaker it too.
I know, right? No, yeah, my dad handed me a camera. It makes a nice story, but that's not true.
Okay.
I'll just sum it all up. When I was 24, I moved from New York to Florida to Los Angeles and then back to Florida. When I was 24, I moved out to Los Angeles. I wanted to be an actor, and I fell into screenwriting. And, after pounding it away for like 15 years, I couldn't sell any screenplays. I moved back to Florida, and then I just started doing documentaries. It's just something you could kind of just pick up and do. You don't need actors, you don't need location scouts. And that was, like over 12 years ago. And I just started doing films, and I've done one after another. And, like any artist, your first go about wasn't that great, but as you get better and better and further into it, you get better and better. And, I am a Christian, I'm Catholic, and I want to spread the word of God in an entertaining manner, not preachy at all. And I feel like that's what I'm called to do. And I also very much go with the scripture, take no part of unfruitful works of darkness, but expose them. So I'm kind of all about that. I'm about finding a subject that's a hot topic and exposing the truth about it. And always no one knows the mind of God, but we have an idea, and
you can feel it.
Yeah, you can learn a lot about it, but if scripture, but what he approves of and what he doesn't. But I always want to ask, what is the message I'm going to convey? Is God going to approve of the message I convey? And
that's a beautiful filter.
Abortion, that killing children is not good. Obviously, he likes that. One about how you shouldn't cut off your body parts. I did one about transgender.
Go figure.
I'm sure. I know. I'm sure he appreciates that. And so I kind of look at it in that prism before I start a film. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I saw that come through in I think you said it was one of your first films, My Friend Raymond. And it's about a guy you see in church, and he hits rock bottom. And the reason why I find that appealing is, a lot of people on this planet, myself included, have gone through that. And that's actually when you find God, is when you're at the very bottom and you have to ask for help. And when you do ask for help, God is there. And then your life changes dramatically. So that was really moving to me. If you give me a little bit more story on that, if you wouldn't mind. I don't understand what it was that set this guy off and where it ended.
Yeah, it's great you brought that, because that's kind of one film that somewhat got me on the map. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still struggling, but I'm getting little notches in my belt. But My Friend Raymond was awesome because I became friends with someone. I see him come into church all the time. He was all disheveled and limping, and one time I just said, "Hey, you need a ride somewhere?" And I drove him to the bank, and then we started talking. And he's mentally challenged, but he's an awesome, great person, and we became friends. And then in my mind, I'm like, wow, I should do a film about him. And he was just pleased as heck. He doesn't really have any friends. And so we did a film about him. And he actually, when he was about 9, he was riding his bike over a bridge and got hit by a car.
Oh, dear Lord.
And that's how he got handicapped. And he actually died like 3 times and saw visions of God. And, you kind of have to pull it out of him. He saw himself laying there in the street and stuff. And that one won at the International Christian Film Festival. But there's lots of really good messages, but one of the messages is kind of like giving is its own reward. And like you go into something like thinking you're helping somebody, but it turns out like they're helping you,
Wow.
found that through my friend Raymond. He's an awesome guy. I actually still see him like maybe once every couple weeks. I go visit him 2 hours from here. He's staying with his cousins now. He was living by himself in the house. It was kind of difficult. But yeah, I keep in touch with him now. And, you know, everything's going awesome.
See, that's what I love about this. Just sorry to interrupt you, but what you're demonstrating to people is the best parts of humanity. The fact that you went and sought this guy out and you became friends, somebody who was otherwise neglected, kicked to the curb, literally run over, and yet that human quality in you shone through. And that's the difference, right? Where we sit in this world today is wheat and tares. I talk about it all the time. Matthew 13-38 is about wheat and tares. And we're now seeing it as they grow up. So you are a wheat, Frank. and the gangsters that you describe in Deep State Gangsters is really what I also want to do. From your perspective, you made this film. Tell people a little bit about it, and then what did you learn along the way?
Sure. Well, Deep State Gangsters came to be. I met someone through the LinkedIn, Pedro Israel Orta. He wrote a book called The Broken Whistle. He was with the CIA and blew the whistle, and we kind of got together, and he helped fund the thing. And then I pulled in other people, like it's about people who worked for the government and spoke their mind and then was punished for it. Hello, like that happens all the time. So it's like whistleblowers. And John Kariakou, that's how to say it. He was in my film. He's the one that exposed the torture program that we had after 9/11. And Nate Kane, I think he was on your show once. He was he's the guy that was exposed Hillary Clinton with the Uranium One scandal, how she's making tons of money from it. And so it's about people who are with the CIA or the FBI and then spoke the truth and were punished for it. Garrett O'Boyle, people probably know of him too. He's the one that blew the whistle on how they were going after January 6 people immensely and how they were going after pro-life people. And he spoke out about that in a hearing, and they came down on him. Yeah. They pretended they were going to give him a higher position. And when he showed up for work after selling his house and moving, they said, "Oh, you're suspended." So they totally screwed him on purpose, left him out.
You bet.
Wouldn't give him his his goods, like they were holding his belongings. They refused to give it to him. He's still fighting that battle right now. But yeah, thank God Trump's administration is now in power, and it looks like we're gonna be cleaning some house. But yeah,
holy smokes!
Yeah, Deep State Gangsters is kind of about that. It's about these gangsters in our government, and
that's what they are.
If you don't toe the line, look what happened to these guys. It could happen to you. So that's what they do. They try and make an example of people and treat them unjustly and say, well, if you don't want this to happen to you, don't speak out.
Well, I understand my mic is going bad too, and I want to talk more about the gangster thing. But tell us about Lambs. It's Lambs. What's the full title?
That was one of my first films. It's titled Lambs Among Wolves. Just like Scripture states, we're sending you out like lambs among wolves. And that one is about how there's a spiritual warfare going on, and it's very much a spiritual thing. Like, I personally think, don't get me wrong, I understand there's a medical side to everything, but I think a lot of depression, anxiety, things that bring you down in life are evil spirits, So it was kind of meant to bring awareness to that, So I interviewed many different people and kind of brought it out that it's a spiritual battle. Like, it's not so much the guy on the corner with the gun that's going to rob the old lady. It's like, what's driving him to do that? You know what I mean? And of course, like, Satan really can't force you to do anything.
Oh, I'm having
but
trouble
there are some cases, but there's some cases he can force you. But I'm working on a new film now, and I'm going through titles. It's either going to be called Life and Death Deception, or it's going to be called Evacuation Dumpster Fire. And it has to do with the Afghanistan withdrawal, where people were just left to die, and the government lied to us about a lot of things. And Zachary Young is going to be in my film. He was someone that helped evacuate people from Afghanistan. And then CNN got their claws in him, and they smeared him and said he was exploiting people, and it was like a scam. And Zachary Young turned around and sued CNN, and he just won $5 million. So I'm doing a film about that and exposing the truth about what happened in Afghanistan. There were a lot of lies that were told with the Afghanistan withdrawal. You know, Biden had told everyone, if we're not leaving any Americans, we're not going to get out until we get all the Americans. You know, that was a lie. He was told that none of his generals or anyone told him to leave more people there. We need more people. He goes, oh, no one ever told me that. That was a lie. The Afghanistan withdrawal was just full of lies. So, you know, I'm trying to get a little funding to do that film. And one could visit my website. It's X is in the Sky Films. It's XSINTHESKYFILMS.com if they want to donate and help. So that's it. And also on my website, you can view any one of there's about 9 of my films up on that website where someone could view if they like for a $7 donation. But yeah, that's what I'm working on now. I'm trying to find funding. So things should go.
Okay, well that's just fantastic, Frank. It's so courageous what you're doing. And I had a question, just because you are with the Afghanistan withdrawal. Have you had any pushback, and also the gangster? Have you had pushback from federal agencies or government?
Right. Good question. Like, you would think that. I think on a whole, like, I think I'm being protected by God, you know, because
Amen.
I go to mass, I go to church, I read I say the rosary, I read scripture, I stay guarded up. And you would think, because like I did a pro-life film that basically says with Kevin Sorbo and Sam Sorbo, that basically says abortion is sacrificing your children to the devil. You know, I've done one on transgender, so you would think that people would be coming after me. I did one exposing the FBI and the CIA and the corruption. So you would think that they would be coming after me, knock on wood. But but I think in other ways that I might not be so obvious, like shadow banning, like certain posts I'll put out, they hardly got any views, and you know, certain things. One time my phone just died out of nowhere, and I had to get a new one. But who knows? But on a whole, like, you know, I've had people say, oh, you better be careful, you know, and knock on wood, you know, just going forward with compelling stories and speaking the truth. And like we had spoken about before, Lisa, like God is all about truth, right? So then lies and deception is all about Satan. So it's very, very clear. If you're speaking the truth, you're speaking what God wants. If you're lying and deceiving people, you're working with the evil one. You know,
that's so true. And you know, you said something, and I wanted to comment on it because it just moved me when you about the Ray from church. Raymond, and how, you know, you met him in church, and you know, you're there. It's a service, and that when we are walking, you know, like Jesus, you know, we're trying to be like Jesus. It is about being a servant and providing service to others. And it doesn't mean, and really genuinely doing that. And that brings joy. It is about coming together and noticing things. I see you, you know, you saw Raymond where others didn't.
Right. Yeah. We all need to do that. Like, in my own way, like, I mean, I could do more. I'm trying. But, you know, once I would, I'm not a saint, get me wrong, but, you know, I volunteered in a nursing home once, very rewarding. I was a member of Big Brothers, Big Sisters. You know, right now I live in this complex, and there's this single mom who's struggling, and she has a 7-year-old kid, and I take him to school every day, you know, little things. But
that's not little,
it's really rewarding, and I have to get up anyway, you know, so it's just all works. But I want to do more to help people. And the thing, like when you go into something and don't look for a reward. Like when I met Raymond, I'm like, oh, I wasn't like, let me meet him so I can do a film about him. You know, it wasn't that at all. And God seized my heart. You know, he saw I just found an opportunity to help someone and went for it. So if you put yourself in situations like that and don't expect a reward, you're just doing your job as a human being, you know, as one of God's children.
Yes, and then the reward.
Yeah.
Well, the reward is helping somebody out. It's
Right.
deflected of you, and that's genuineness of God too. Is following that when you get the genuine reward and joy out of seeing what your kindness has given to somebody else. You've picked somebody up, and that's the reward. It isn't the shine of anybody else or accolades. It's what you've done for Raymond. It's just amazing.
Right.
Cool.
Beautifully said.
That's what makes the
Can you
world
hear
go
me
round.
okay now?
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Okay, I've had such a horrible malfunction, but you two are carrying on, so I'm going to shut up again because you're carrying on good. What I wanted to ask, if you don't mind, Frank, is where does this go? Where does the horizon lead you? And you got, you know, the scent of something that you want to chase down, really do. What is your crazy adventure look like?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to make it, I can almost do it. Like 2 nights a week, I work in a restaurant as a manager and a server, and it's good because I need interaction with people. But I'm almost at a point where I can full on just make a living at filmmaking.
Wow.
Then that's what I'm going to do. And you know the saying, if you like what you do, you never work a day in your life, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm almost at the point where I can totally survive by just my filmmaking. And, you know, I'm going to be doing this film about Afghanistan. And one thing I've always wanted to do is a film on like the New World Order, you know, how there are dark things working in our society that are specifically tied to the Antichrist and Satan. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We've got research if you need it.
Yeah. There's God and there's Satan and there's a battle, you know, and it's it's working through our society. So that might be the
You're in it.
Yeah,
You're in it. We're in it.
You're absolutely. That's why we keep mentioning the wheat and the tares. Is it's now becoming obvious. You can actually see people for what they are, and even though they look like people, they're demons. There's no other way to explain this. And then when you said to the deep state gangsters, the other part I really wanted to stress is that these people are actors. And funny enough, I just heard a guy that was at Bobby Kennedy's confirmation hearing. And he said, you know, I'm watching Bernie Sanders confront Bobby, and the cameras aren't on Bernie. And what is he doing? He's tapping his feet and talking to everybody else. And then like an instant, he goes from, you know, jovial to this mean character, oh, I'm going to get all over you. But because they are actors. And I always wondered why it was actors in Hollywood and political people all hung out together, because they do the same damn job. They're acting like they're not stealing us blind. They're acting like they give a crap, and they don't. Right. And that's the point, is Satan's greatest weapon is deception. And most everything we think we know isn't so. It's different. And that's what I wanted to understand in terms of your filmmaking. When you get to the bottom of things, you shake it around, turn it upside down. What does it really look like? What is your estimation?
Well, definitely. I very much believe in a spiritual warfare. Like some people think I'm over the top, but you know, if I'm working on something,
I don't.
Yeah, I know we don't. But like, if I'm working on something like, you know, a pro-life thing, and I know I want to spread the word of God, all of a sudden my editing system crashes, or, you know, I think that the evil one has power to manipulate technology, you know. I very much look at things like that. Like in the morning, you know, like sometimes, I don't want to get up. You know, I feel like I'm a loser today. You know, am I ever going to get anywhere? That's Satan getting in your head. And, you know, so I look at things like that and I say, oh, wait a minute, that's Satan trying to bring me down. So I'm going to say an Our Father, and I'm going to think and thank God for all these things I have. So like you can conquer that depression. And like I said, I'm Catholic, and I go to mass every day and say the rosary, and it just helps me immensely. But I'm very aware of the spiritual warfare, and all my films, I do it where you don't even really know it, but I'm trying to spread the word of God through film in my way.
Yeah.
Like with
Yes.
Deep State, and sometimes you have to work through the film to find where's the message. I'm like, oh, there it is. So like in Deep State Gangsters, like God isn't even brought up until 95% of the film is done, and then these people say, look, this is how I made it. I looked to God to help me. I looked up. So that was like the message, like your strength comes from God, and it saved these people from all this hell they went through. It could save you too. So you come across that message. And another one was very much like we compared what happened in the Holocaust, how no one spoke up, and then no one spoke. So look what happened back then. So we compare that today, like we're on the edge of that. That could happen again. It's important that people speak up,
Yes.
So you kind of have an idea sometimes and what the good message that God wants you to put out through your film most of the time, but sometimes it doesn't come up until you're like working through it, So like with this new one, new one about Afghanistan, it's like, well, where's the moral message, and I just it'll come to me, but the truth needs to be known. Biden lied about a host of things. 13 dead Americans.
They've been lying for a long time.
Yeah. And one of the Zachary Young's going to be in my film, like I said, but also Mark Schmidt. He had lost a son. He lost a son in Abbey Gate, one of the 13. He's going to be in my film also, and also someone. His name is. I have a hard time saying his name. It's an Afghani name. It's like Kahal Shawari. And or Kyle Shawari, and he used to fly people out of Afghanistan, and huge planes of people, and he had to get out of there because his life was at risk, and so he's an American citizen now. That's the kind of person we want, and he's now a pilot here, raising his family, and he's so proud to be an American. That's the kind of people we want.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and that's like. I'm going to get into the story. Like, here's this man that went through all this hell. Like, I think his parents still are in Afghanistan. He's very worried about them. But he and his wife and his kid live here, and they're making a life for themselves. And they're proud to be American, and they love America. You know what I mean?
And grateful.
Yeah. That's going to be like the pivotal ending is, this is what we want. We want people with values that love America to come here. Yeah.
Well, that and people with pure hearts, and you also make an important point here. This is a guy from Afghanistan. I doubt he's Christian. Right. It doesn't matter. It is their moral compass that matters, and I've had this conversation a lot lately. Look, if your belief system is Muslim or Jewish or Christian or Hindu, it doesn't make any difference. What matters is your belief in our Creator.
Right.
And I think we all tend to call the Creator something different, but it's not worth killing other people over. And that's the part that bothers me. And my hope is that humanity graduates out of the stupid divisiveness that is put into our society. It's put into our lives by these very same gangsters that you identified. Yeah. And I just wanted to also say that, that human spirit, as I was talking about, it also has joy. And this is the thing Lisa and I get to experience together. Is that her job is frankly very difficult because she sees the worst of the worst of the worst. What is our government going to do to kill us this time? And yet finds joy in being helpful and getting the word out. Lisa, you always blow me away with your ability to shoulder all this. But it's the same thing for you, Frank.
Yeah.
Right. You see in the worst of things, and then you add a Christian bend and light to it. And all of a sudden, it's joyful to share that word.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Can I wanted to say something really quick, Frank. I wanted to invite our audience to submit some questions for you, because I'm sure there's several that that'll be coming in. But you mentioned, so we'll be looking for the questions for you. But I just wanted to comment. It was so profound what you said with your films. You're trying to present a message of God or just, what moves you. But your films, probably the intensity of them, there's messages for everybody to find that you are going to be uniquely their own or to come out of it. And I think when we're showing, and Todd, our shows and our research, we are showing and trying to help lead people. We can't force people to get there. We can't make people get there. We can guide them and help them with information and truth and genuineness. But it's about the atrocities that we're exposing reveal in and of themselves that we are up against an evil force.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, the message is that God wouldn't do this.
Yeah, it sheds light on things. It's funny you use the word intense because I've had other people describe my documentaries as it's intense.
I mean that positively.
I guess it wouldn't be like timid, you know, mine are very bold, in your face stuff, but it's just my style.
Well, I think it's time for that, right? It's time to shake people in their boots, and it's time to rattle the trees, and it's time to say, hey, everybody, get your frequencies going and let's jive.
Yeah. And yeah, just step out there. Don't be afraid. Say the truth. You know, look, it's wrong to cut off your body parts. You know, it's wrong to kill a 9-month baby in your womb. It's just wrong, and God's not happy with this. You know, look at what's going on. You know, in Scripture, all throughout Old Testament, God chastised people through killing and wars and all kinds of things because He was, you know, He was punishing them and disciplining them. And I mean, you know, that could be happening to us. You know, we need to thank God for our blessings and be aware and do the right thing in life and stay away from lying and cheating and stealing and, you know, get rid of.
Exactly.
Because this country,
find your moral compass and stick to it.
Yeah, in one of my films, Systematic Deception, one of the interviewees says, this country was made for moral people and it won't work for anyone else. And it's true. You know, it's absolutely true.
Yeah, well, that's the Constitution. You know, when you think of the Constitution, it's written, if people were guided by their moral compass, it would be beautiful. I mean, it would just be in a bit, you know, a utopia of.
We wouldn't need courts, right? We wouldn't need prosecutors, and that's the problem, right? With our society is so full of these very gangsters, they can't live peacefully with others. My hope is that we grow through that. Vis-a-vis Matthew, talking about wheat and tares. Before we switch gears too far, I really just want to go back to your friend from Afghanistan, the guy that became the pilot and the immigrant. You know, I'd really love to know more about that and have him share his story so it can be inspirational for others. But I'm just curious, in the process of you know, interviewing him, getting to know him, what was his impressions about, because you briefly mentioned $13 billion or 13 people dead, 80-something billion dollars left behind. What was his impressions as to how and why that happened?
Oh, well, I have to dive in more with Kahil. His name is Khial, and his last name is Shinwari, Shinwari. Long story short, I was doing some searching and I found this little film. I think it's called Evacuate from Kabul. And it's just 20 minutes. And there might be 3 or 4 named that, but that's how I came to know him and what he stands for and what he's about. And then I tracked him down. You know, I'm pretty good at tracking people down. And he got in touch with me and said, yes, I'll be an interviewee. So I'm still learning more and more about him. But through the film, you can tell clearly he's so proud and happy to be an American. And, you know, his life was in peril and he was saving other people. But now he's here. And, yeah, I could talk to him and he'll probably would love to come on your show, you know?
Well, I do. I want to talk with him, but I also want him to understand what everybody else needs to also understand is that all of this distraction that we have in political life is really to disguise what is actually really happening. And that $83 billion worth of equipment was left behind for the Chinese to build their Belt and Road Initiative. That's what that was about. And the war in Ukraine is also related to the Belt and Road Initiative. Effectively, they're rebuilding the Silk Trail, right? That went through the Khazarian lands. And I just wanted for people to understand it for themselves, that this is a matter of cooperation between the People's Republic of China and Mr. Biden, our government. We're collaborating for the purpose of making this happen because it's above government, right? That's the point of all this. Now, sometimes it takes a unique viewpoint to actually understand that. For example, why is U.S. military, you know, guarding poppy fields in Afghanistan if heroin is so bad? Why are Customs and Border Patrol agents allowing fentanyl to come across the border if it's so bad? Well, because they're all getting paid for it, right? It's a criminal enterprise, and that's what I wanted to go through with your friend. I'd love to meet
Well,
him.
you know, Satan was the most beautiful and most clever of all the angels. And the thing is, you're touching base on everything because sometimes in hindsight, you know, months or years later, you can see, oh, that was what's going on. But yeah, I mean, Biden is in cahoots with these people. He's got millions of dollars
Absolutely.
I mean, you got to be in the fake news is like, oh, there's no proof. Yes, there is proof. There's tons of proof.
Lots.
The most, the most obvious one is like that $40,000 check. That his brother.
Tell them, Lisa.
But there's like there's a
Oh,
whole
yeah.
lot. Yeah, and it's China. It's all about China. They want to.
Metabiota?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's insane.
Metabiota, the big guy has shares. It was found to be a biological weapons manufacturer in Ukraine, amongst other places. And yeah, and the further we go back, the further we find out that this criminal enterprise was set up a long time ago and been involved in all the backdoor stuff.
Yeah.
Based on what it is you do, and then I'll shut up.
It doesn't just happen overnight, right?
No,
it doesn't happen overnight. And this is what I was.
Time.
What is the one common trait that as you're looking from your camera at all these people, what is the one common trait all the gangsters have in common? Because you said a second ago, Satan was the most beautiful, the quickest wit. Is that the common trait? What do you see?
Well, one thing for sure right off the bat is they care more about the bureaucracy and climbing that ladder than they do about America and the good of America. In your face, that's definitely one. They care more about their position, like John Brennan and Comey and all these people. They were just scum, And now I see them out making money, doing books. Oh, I'm innocent. I'm good. They're so arrogant, and then and now like we can't even they've been pardoned now, but at least I believe that just because someone's pardoned doesn't mean they can't be dragged into court and put under oath, and they can't use their Fifth Amendment. So we need to bring all these people in to expose them. It's so much
and you can't pardon war crimes,
right?
So, and that's the reality. Is we've been in war. This is World War III. You're in it right now, right? And the war is on humanity.
Right.
That's the reality of the situation.
And
Lisa, go ahead, because I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry, Frank. Go ahead.
No, just going through footage like before I find the funding. I do this all the time. I just dive in and start working when no one's paying me. But I get as much. My sister's like, you got to stop doing that. I get as much done as I can. You're allowed to use footage that's from whitehouse.gov, and certain footage you're allowed to use. You can't get sued. So I grabbed footage I could use, and I'm going through it, and I'm learning about Afghanistan, and most Americans don't know what happened there.
No.
Biden lied many times, especially when he said, we're not going to leave until all Americans are out. That's a lie. He was told that no one told him we need more troops. That's a lie. There was tons of lies going on. He said that Afghanistan withdrawal was a great success. That's a lie. It was terrible. It was terrible. And that Trump had said, look, we're going to pull out, but there are some conditions that will pull out. And the Taliban had broken all these conditions and been doing dubious actions the whole time. And and here we are working hand in hand with the Taliban, a terrorist network. So
hand in hand,
just learning a lot about the deceit and lies that went into that withdrawal that killed 13 poor people.
Well, that we know of.
Right.
I mean, you see people hanging off the side of of the airplane. The airplane's taking off and they're falling to their death. They may not be Americans, but they're people.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But when you were talking about, the gangsters, and Todd, we've talked about this. You call them the owners, Mark Steele. It's the cult. But they have been in power for centuries. They're not going to give it up easily, and they don't stray from their playbook because they, Frank, you were saying arrogance. It's like they're bloated with arrogance, and they're narcissists.
Hubris.
So they don't think. And now it's so ridiculously, and I use that term. It's so ridiculously blatant and obvious that they're outing themselves, right?
Yeah.
They are truly just going to eat themselves alive because they're never consumed or satisfied.
Yeah.
So they're never.
Right.
And because Trump's in office, they're shaking in their boots. Look at all these people that are pardoned. None of them are saying, "Oh, I don't need a pardon. I didn't do anything wrong." None of them. They know, that they are guilty, and they're afraid. Milley, I think he had said, "I'm afraid Trump's going to come after me." Damn right, you should be afraid.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
if like,
Yes.
I'm not afraid of things that I'm a sinner like everyone else. But if you did nothing wrong, you have nothing to be afraid of. These people are afraid of Trump because they did many things wrong. Yeah, Mark.
Well, the cool part about it is that it's contagious too, because now we're seeing other countries around the world finding their own courage. It took Mr. Trump to stand, but now you see Kenya is saying no more Bill Gates, India, no more. We're not going to poison our people anymore. And you see world leaders actually calling things for what it is. And I said some time ago that I was convinced that the owners were missing. And the reason for that is Mr. Trump couldn't exist if they were around. You look at Bobby Kennedy's father and uncle, both gone. The guys that shot him, both gone. When President Kennedy was assassinated, that was a message to the world. We're in charge, not this silly little president over here or over there. It is Satan at the end of the day. This is his domain, and it looks to me like we're taking our planet back, and that's what I'm really excited about.
Right. And like we have mentioned, if we all just followed our moral compass, it would be bliss on heaven, but not quite. My point is, like, because of original sin, we have a tendency to sin. But my point is, I'm a sinner, you're a sinner, we're all a sinner. But my point is, if you find out that you sin and ask God for forgiveness and try not to do it again and change, you're constantly going to sin, even thinking things, oh God, misjudging people, and you're constantly going to sin. But the difference is when you do, catch it and realize what you did, ask for forgiveness and try not to do it again. But these other people, they just sin and they have no conscience and they don't care.
No, not at all. No, not at all.
It's going to drive us to the ground. Yeah.
Well, this is why I say that life is a school. That's really it. We're here to learn, and until we learn,
and some won't.
we're not
Right.
going anywhere. Well, that's
all
true.
we can do is come a little bit more and more like Jesus every day.
Yes.
We can't just. That's all we can do. Right. We're gonna sin again in the future, but God sees when we try to do the right thing.
Well, not to put you on the spot, but what was that moment in your life when you decided that's enough? I've had enough. I'm going to go find God and build myself around.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you said that because I've always been born and raised a Catholic, and unlike a lot of people, I never left the church, and I would keep going. And it's funny you brought that up. I'll sum it up, but I've been practicing abstinence for over 17 years now, not fooling around with anyone, man or woman, focusing on God and my career. But like I said, I'm a sinner, but it's just the way I am. I mean, my reason is because I used to live the gay lifestyle. For some reason, I was born just never finding women attractive, So I always thought at first, I thought, oh, this is fine. It must be okay. I'm in love with this person, but after a while, I realized that God is not happy with that, So I figured that rather than do something that I could be damned to hell for, I'm just going to remain abstinent and focus on God. And I've never been happier, So
for 17 years, that is right. It's working for you.
Amazing. Yeah. I once, when I was younger, how young people are. I told this guy once, he's like, oh, I wouldn't tell anybody that. It's something to be ashamed of, I would be more cool.
Well, I admire you.
I'd be more cool if I went out in a bar and banged 3 different girls in one night. That makes you cool in America. It's the opposite. That you should be ashamed of that.
Yeah.
That's right. I think we've gone so far to the Cirque du Soleil of life, just such freaky stuff going on, so that people are realizing that isn't happiness. It's not. It's instant gratification, or 15 minutes, but it's.
I got an example. Did Kanye look happy with his wife, being nude in front of all the cameras?
Yeah. I mean, he
wasn't.
No.
There was no joy anywhere amongst any of them.
No, there really isn't.
It's just tragic.
Yeah. And sometimes this stuff takes a while to sink in. Like they say, people who are transgender, it takes sometimes 10 or 15 years before you really regret what you did.
Yeah.
So I've talked to people that, and I think
time and patience.
They're happy, but it comes around. The thing is, Satan's playing the long game. You know what I mean? He's looking down the road where we're just in the moment, and got to kind of try and
think about the victory for him of getting people to engage in that deceitful and unhealthy lifestyles, but then some part of them, probably a majority, do feel that shame. So that's a double sword, win for him, because he's got both. He's got people in his, in participating, and some get addicted to that lifestyle, but yet in their moments of self-reflection on their own, they are feeling remorse and shame and guilt. So
I was just going to say that.
And
Beautiful.
he's
Lisa.
like,
You
Satan's
made
always
the
like,
point.
God would never forgive you for what you did. He's telling the lie, just like women who had an abortion. And of course there's forgiveness, but Satan's saying, no, you look what you did, and you got to ignore that. And
that's the key. That's the key. Look, at the end of the day, truth is our greatest weapon, and it defeats deceit, right? That's the point. So I find in my own life and those who I associate with, that with truth as our moral compass, it always leads you in the right way. Just stick to your principles, stick to the truth, and you don't have to worry about the collateral, the rest of the stuff. And by the way, you go through life joyous, because the truth is joyous. So I really admire you.
Real joy, not like the Kamala Harris fake joy, right?
Exactly. Yeah, no
You would think
cackling.
she was
just feeling good and whole. That's what I'm
We're
trying
so
to say.
happy we brought an abortion ban to our Democratic convention.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that? 25 babies, I think, were killed in the process of that. It just makes me want to puke.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
Oh Lord. Well, Frank, I want to have you back again.
Thanks.
So when you finish your Afghan film, do me a favor. Let's revisit, because I really want to meet your Afghan friend as well. It'd be really fun to do it. You've got such a fantastic personality. You're engaging, and people will gravitate towards you, because this is really fun. And I'd like to do more of it.
You shine.
By the way, you're welcome to set up a CloutHUB channel. CloutHUB 2.0 is coming on. Today is actually a soft launch.
Thank you.
And it's going to be miraculous. And I want you to come and share your stuff there.
And I just want to say thank you to both of you, Lisa and Todd. So you're really remarkable people. I didn't know you before today, but you're remarkable, really nice people. Can you imagine if we had the three of our intellect all in one and just went out into the world? We would just nail it, right?
Well, we're all connected, right? That's the whole point. It's connected.
Except I'm a little more brilliant than you guys. But other than
Love it.
Well, that's what God's
No, I
doing.
love it. And that's the point.
Sorry, Todd, I interrupted you.
Yes.
But
No,
that's what energy is.
Say it, because you're right.
We're learning so much about what energy really is and frequencies, and this is just exactly what that is. Is this meeting of the minds, this meeting of energy, and God's chosen people to do that. It's cool.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And the 4 years or now 5 years of battle we've been doing it, the best part isn't just that we survived, it's that we got to discover how many other wonderful people are out there just like us. And everybody's had their heads low, trying not to get it cut off. And so now with the courage of people like Lisa, who's a whistleblower, Melissa's a whistleblower, every time somebody stands, it gives courage to others to find the strength to stand and not hide. And that's the point, right? We're truth warriors. We're God's warriors when we speak the truth and require it of others. And that's the beauty of the message that you bring as well. So with that said, guys, we're out of an hour very quickly.
Thank you very much.
Such a joy to have you on.
Yeah, and I appreciate any kind of help. If someone could go to my website and donate to help this.
Please, let's do that.
If not, I understand. It's totally fine. Just thought I'd throw it out.
No, I want to get behind that. So let's, we'll talk to
the link is in the description.
So we can get some commercials going
We'll
for you.
and if it's X's in the Sky Films, and if you just look up Frank X Panico, you'll learn a lot about it. But thank you all very much.
X's in the Sky. Such a joy, Frank. God bless you on your journey. I look forward to regrouping with you in the fairly near future.
Thanks, Lisa. It's really nice to meet you. Great job.
Thank you too, Frank. It was lovely. You're a beacon of light.
Thanks.
That's right. All right. God bless everybody. Thanks for being here.